Hey there, cats and kitties, I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 1 of the anime series Hibike Euphonium. And this was one of those series that, when I first caught the PV, going back a couple of weeks now, it really struck me as something that I could conceivably get into and really thoroughly enjoy. And by the end of the first episode, I have to say that thoroughly proved to be the case. I really enjoyed watching this episode, and I'm left sort of intrigued and, piqued to figure out where the story is going to be going, and will these girls that we're following in this particular series achieve their goal in their high school band or what have you, to reach the nationals and, this whole competition aesthetic. I really loved the characters. Let me first and foremost say, I'm not somebody who really, when I know an anime series is being adapted from a light novel or a manga, I don't usually jump into the source material because I don't want to experience spoilers. And I know a lot of people, that's what they do. They jump into that stuff. And so I'm going to have a complete unfamiliarity with the way the story is supposed to unfold in this series. And I kind of like that, because with how gripping the first episode was and how much I fell in love with this main foursome of characters, immediately I'm enjoying their sort of repartee, the way they're playing off each other, and I like the main character very much, Kumiko Ome, who she feels like her high school band just sucks. It just outright sucks. And one of her, I guess, based on sort of how they're interacting at the start of the episode, her best friends or whatever, Kusaka Reina, she's very much upset at the fact that, they got like the lowest sort of the low scores, something called dud gold, as basically Kumiko refers to it. And this is basically kind of just like a passive thing where they're just kind of throwing you a bone. You suck so bad, but here's a gold star anyway, go sit in the corner and, with your suckfest friends and everything. And this really badly affects Kusaka in the beginning. She's very much crying and she's mad at Kumiko. And so there's a whole sort of aesthetic to this episode where she's afraid to run into Kusaka again, and actually very nearly does, and she almost has a freaking freak out, a breakdown. But she's basically introduced to these two other characters who happen to be in her class. One is the absolutely adorable Midori, or Sapphire Kawashima, and she's just all kinds of cute and shy and very timid, sort of. She's kind of soft-spoken, and she has to correct the teacher as to how to pronounce her name and everything, and she's kind of bashfully like, oh, don't worry about it, just passing it off very much immediately like that character, as well as, of course, the character of Kato, who she's, I guess, supposed to be like the new girl in class or something like that. She's introducing herself and saying she wants to be able to do all kinds of new things, Kato Hoozuki. And I just, again, I love the sort of rapport automatically. These characters are only just meeting, and they seem like, well-established characters. They seem like well-established friends. There's a lot of key elements to the animation that I just loved in this episode. Little sort of, character things that we as human beings do. There's this point where you have Kumiko, I guess her older sister or something, is visiting, or she's, at home for a time, and she comes barging in Kumiko's room, and she's like, get the hell out of my room. What are you doing? Don't you knock? That kind of situation. And then the sister comes back in and she's like pressing questions to Kumiko. Are you going to go out for band again or whatever like that? And there's this moment where Kumiko kind of just like, she doesn't move her head, but she's just looking up and she's like, what? Why? Little subtle sort of, movements like that, or in this case non-movement, just the way she's looking at the sister. And you have a lot of moments like this between the characters, where, in Kumiko's case, she'll be standing there and she'll be like just shocked, and the subtlety of emotions that they manage to capture in like the facial expressions and the movement or lack of movement, very much sort of realistic. It's something you don't, at least I don't, see that often translating well to animation, like in an anime series. And I was really impressed by that. They managed to capture a lot of those little, again, sort of subtle movements or expressions or those kinds of things with these characters. And that, I think, is a large part of why I was attracted to all of these characters from the get-go. They seem very real and very human, and it doesn't seem like something outlandish or absurd like some anime series. They go above and beyond, and they get really goofy, and there is some goofy comedic elements to this first episode, especially a character I love, again, in the cast, Asuka. They're going to sample out basically the trio of girls, Kumiko, Kato, and Sapphire, or Midori, whatever you want to call her. They're going to check out, sort of band practice, and they meet this Asuka who seems to be like the band leader or something. I guess she's probably like, a senior in this high school environment, because she has somebody come over and be like, almost treating, the three new girls or younger girls like, gloves off, stay away from them, you're freaking them out, that kind of thing, because she comes over and automatically she hands Kato like a piece of candy or whatever it is, and it's a dummy hand, and like absolutely terrifies Kato, and it just made me die laughing. This episode has a lot of charm, is what I'm trying to get at. The characters can be funny. They can be, in the case of from the start, Kosaka, you're kind of heartbroken over. Everyone knows what it's like to achieve and want to achieve and strive for an achievement or a goal or something like that, especially in school. And automatically they find out right at the start, failure. So I mean, you can relate to that, and that's a lot of the things that I see going on in this first episode. You can relate to the idea that these new girls are kind of excited about joining a club, in this case band. They want to do something artistic. They like the idea of being surrounded by music. It's kind of like the fire of Sapphire's soul, she basically says. And I've said many similar things in my life, how much music means to me and everything like that. If I could play an instrument, I would. I used to perform singing and stuff like that, and so I echo sort of what she is thinking and feeling. And you have the new girl Kato kind of joining in her expressiveness and her excitement over that. And then of course you have Kumiko, this is her passion. You can tell she's very much passionate about basically being a musician and being around music, and she wants to be able to do really well at that. And her reservations largely have to do with the fact that the band, the school band just sucks. And I like how, I forget which one of these girls it is, but one of them is like, let's change that. Let's be the ones who change that. Let's make the band better by becoming involved with it. And that, to me, was just like, I was gung-ho. I was like, hell yes. And there's also this little sort of interlude moment where she's like hanging out in a park or by a lake or whatever, and she meets this guy, Shizuki or whatever his name is, and apparently they have a history, and at some point in the past, he told her to leave him alone or whatever, and she doesn't want to talk to him because of that. I don't exactly understand that dynamic yet. I'm assuming he's kind of like, smitten with her and probably going to be chasing after her, and she's probably going to be, because they are lifelong friends or whatever, they grew up together, it isn't going to work out on her level, wavelength, or whatever. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling on this first episode. There was so much going on in it, and it left me wanting more. I really enjoyed the character dynamics and the characters themselves, singularly, but also how they played off each other. And I'm excited to see, by the end, that basically Kumiko has come to the decision through her two newly found friends to make the effort to join this band. And then you kind of leave off with the cliffhanger. She's going to approach Kosaka, who she hasn't spoken to since her breakdown at the start of the episode. And I guess she's going to try her best to make amends. And then, of course, during the end credits, we see that all four of these girls are going to come together at some point. Whether that's already next episode or this is sort of the crux of the story over the course of the series remains to be seen, for me at least. But I like that idea. They're going to join this band group. They're going to study music. They're going to try to be, sort of very well established as far as, being that underwriting factor in making this school band something better than it is, and having goofy characters like the Asuka band leader sort of character who's going to be seemingly mocking at every turn and having fun at every turn. I love that this episode had sort of a very mellow vibe to it. It didn't get over dramatic. It didn't get overly goofy. It was very much mellow, and the comedic elements and the dramatic elements, they weren't so far, abrupt in any which direction that you felt like it was absurd or it wasn't meshing well. It all completely meshed incredibly well, at least for me, and as I say, I enjoyed it full mast. I can't wait to see what happens from here, and I may end up sticking with this one and doing episodic reviews, which I wasn't expecting. I didn't know what to expect. I knew I'd probably dig the series, but I didn't think I'd dig it this much. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 1 of Hibike Euphonium, if you've seen it, if you've followed the source material that this is probably likely based on. I always ask, please keep spoilers out of any sort of speculations or potential hints of what's to come, but anything else goes as far as whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it, whether it lived up to your expectations, and if you will be following along with this series, and if I should review it, my reviews of it. So otherwise, that'll be pretty much it from me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.